Unless you start the mission with the target already radar locked, the first thing you need to do after finding a target is to lock onto it with your radar. When a target blip appears, move the mouse cursor onto the detailed data display. When you do, the cursor changes from an arrow to a pair of horizontal lines. Center the target blip between the cursor lines and click. If the blip is an enemy plane and it is in range, the radar locks on the target and automatically switches to track mode. The vertical bar, which was moving across the entire field in search mode, is now centered on the target. Switch to the lower half of the rear cockpit by pressing the 2 key on the numeric keypad. On the tactical information display, the blue plane at the center of the display is you. The enemy plane appears in red. When the enemy plane has a white box around it, you have a radar lock on that plane. Switch back to the front cockpit by pressing the apostrophe key. Once a radar lock has been established, you are ready to try for a weapons lock. Before you can understand weapons targeting, you must first understand the heads-up display. The heads-up display, or HUD, shows basic flight and combat information, allowing you to fly the plane and fight without looking down at your instruments. In navigation mode, the HUD shows your heading and whether you are climbing, diving, or banking. In combat mode, more information is shown in the HUD. At the bottom of the display is the weapon priority indicator, which shows which weapon system is active. In this example, the Phoenix missiles have been chosen. 2 vertical scales appear on the sides of the HUD in combat mode. On the left is the closure scale. The pointer shows the rate of closure between you and the target. The scale ranges from negative 200 knots at the bottom to positive 1,000 knots at the top. A positive closure rate shows that the target is getting closer to you, while a negative value means it is getting farther away. On the right side is the range scale. The pointer indicates the distance to the designated target. If you are closer than the weapon's minimum range, an X appears in the center of the HUD to warn you that you are too close to fire. The moving green diamond is the target diamond. It remains centered on the enemy plane, following its movements. When the enemy is in firing range, the target diamond begins to flash. For details on the targeting for each weapon, click the appropriate button. When you run out of missiles during combat or you are just too close to use them, you must rely on less modern air combat tactics. The F-14 is equipped with a single 20mm Vulcan gun, which is mounted under the cockpit. This Gatling-type gun is able to fire up to 100 shells per second. To choose the cannon as your active weapon, press the 1 key. G appears in the weapon priority indicator to show that the gun is active. The number on the weapon priority indicator shows the number of rounds remaining. Unlike missile combat, the range scale for the cannon doesn't show minimum and maximum ranges. This weapon has no minimum range. The maximum effective range is 0.6 kilometers, but the gun can be fired at targets as much as 3 kilometers away. The floating gun sight should be centered on the target in order to score a hit. The best attack position when using guns is from directly behind the enemy. This is known as being on his 6 or in the slot position. In this position, the target is in your line of fire for the longest possible time. In addition, you are out of the enemy's firing arc. From any other firing position, both you and the target are moving relative to each other, giving you much less time to score effective hits. Remember to fire in short bursts. At the maximum rate of fire, you can expend all of your ammunition in less than 7 seconds. To fire the gun, press the Enter key. For details on the targeting for each weapon, click the appropriate button. To choose the Sidewinder missile as your active weapon, press the 2 key. SW appears in the weapon priority indicator to show that the Sidewinder missiles are active. The number on the weapon priority indicator shows the number of missiles remaining. Sidewinders are heat-seeking missiles which use internal systems to acquire targets rather than the plane's radar. While the Sidewinder is seeking a target, this tone is heard. The moving indicator in the HUD is the seeker indicator. The range scale shows the minimum and maximum range for the Sidewinder missile, which is 0.5 to 4.5 nautical miles. When the target falls within this range and the missile acquires the target, the seeker indicator joins with the target diamond and both flash to show that it is time to fire. At the same time, this tone is heard. Press the spacebar now to fire a Sidewinder missile. For details on the targeting for each weapon, click the appropriate button. To choose the Sparrow missile as your active weapon, press the 3 key. SP appears in the weapon priority indicator to show that the Sparrow missiles are active. The number on the weapon priority indicator shows the number of missiles remaining. The range scale shows the minimum and maximum range for the Sparrow missile, which is 2 to 24 nautical miles. When the target falls within this range, the target diamond flashes to show that it is time to fire. Press the spacebar now to fire a Sparrow missile. For details on the targeting for each weapon, click the appropriate button. To choose the Phoenix missile as your active weapon, press the 4 key. PH appears in the weapon priority indicator to show that the Phoenix missiles are active. The number on the weapon priority indicator shows the number of missiles remaining. The range scale shows the minimum and maximum range for the Phoenix missile, which is 2 to 110 nautical miles. When the target falls within this range, the target diamond press the spacebar now to fire a Phoenix missile. For details on the targeting for each weapon, click the appropriate button.